Good morning and welcome. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and here we are to talk about Fight CPS, Stop Taking Our Children. And that's really important that you have joined this room because you're going to find out as much as I know about CPS. And if any of you don't know what the word CPS stands for, it stands for the Child Protection System. That's what I call CPS. It's a government agency that is within the social services branch of government that's found in every um, county and every state in the US and worldwide. I have over 30 countries, including the United States, and have talked to pretty much every state in the US, as far away as Maine to Alaska, down to Florida, to California, and I've talked to various countries around the world. Everybody that has come on this show has had some experience with CPS. And I'm here to help you get a lawyer and contact the law firm that I work for. The name of the law firm is Vincent W. Davis and Associates. The lawyer that deals with helping you get your children back is Vincent W. Davis. And he's been fighting CPS for over 30 years. And not only is he a lawyer, schooled and educated and has valuable experience, he's also a trial attorney. He can do trials. Now, with CPS, it doesn't necessarily have to be a trial. Um, it's basically it's not a trial by jury, and I think it should be because it's very serious when someone is accused of doing wrongdoing to our children. But it's also very serious about what has happened to our children. Um, what has happened to our children is over the years, and historically speaking, it starts way back in the early 1600s, in colonial times when we were settling the United States. Now, there's several kinds of people here in the US. The first immigration of the US was done by the Native American Indians over 10,000 years ago. They came across the land bridge up by Asia and Alaska. It's a bridge that was connected over the Bering Sea. And they walked because at 10,000 years ago, people were constantly searching for food. They had not gotten the tools yet to stay put and grow and cultivate crops and make cities. It was early stages. Well, they're the first immigrants in the United States. Then came Europeans, first the Vikings, and then came the English and the Spanish and the Portuguese. Various countries in Europe came to settle. We had early settlements like Jamestown in Virginia. And that's where the first case of a child protection system, it wasn't called back then, but children were still protected. And over the years, it has happened that sometimes children were abused. And some of the abuse is not necessarily physical or neglect. There are two kinds of areas that today they charge. They charge you with physical abuse or neglect of your children. Now, physical abuse is where you use unnecessary corporate punishment, hitting, cruelty, and then neglect is where they don't feed you or take care of you, don't provide a roof over your heads or warm clothing or food in your stomach. And there's many stories that I've read or heard about of abuse to our children. And over the years, especially in the 1800s, they took our first children away and put them in boarding school. Those children were the first immigrants. The people in the United States have never liked the Native American Indians. Now, that's not all true, but historically speaking, treaties were made and promises made and never kept. They considered the Native American Indians wild and savage. So as they were being rounded up and put on reservations, the children were taken from the Indian families, put into schools, and disseminate into our culture, meaning that they were erased of their family ties. All their clothing were removed. They had to wear uniforms, and they could no longer speak the language or do the customs of their family. Now, this is going on for over 200 years. It wasn't until the ICWA came along, which stands for the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1979. And it wasn't until 1979 that American Indian children were given a chance when they did get into issues. Well, in those days, it wasn't child neglect or abuse. It was because they were an Indian. And so today, when an Indian is accused, his parents are accused with their children, they are handled by the Child Protection Services. Now, as I said, it's a county service. There isn't a board of directors or a board of supervisors that manage this CPS agency. This CPS agency is wild and goes unchecked. So what happened is that maybe, the Native American Indians were poor and they weren't able to feed or take care of their children. So they're rounded up and they're caught in CPS. And later they're put into adoptions. And there were adopted families that would take the children and abuse them. Not all adoptions are nice. Not all parents are nice in adoptions. There really isn't much training, and still today. But the way this act worked, it said that if an Indian child, the parent says, "We are Indian," and they can be recognized as their tribe is recognized federally by the U.S. government, then they are put into the Indians take care of their own on their own reservations, and so they are taken there. Good morning, Barkley. Wow, there is you. I've not seen you in so long. How you doing, Bartley? And yes, I'm so glad that you liked hearing my voice, Bartley. How is your little boy doing? What is the latest? My phone is not hooked up yet. I use Vonage. And if you call into the office, and my office number, by the way, is 888-888-6582. I can't be connected yet because I don't have my Vonage set up. I need to know the phone number and extension and so forth. Anyway, I'm glad to have KK Richardson. Good to see you again. I haven't seen you in ages. I'm so glad to see you, KK. We have KK Richardson from New York, a loving mother. By the way, Bartley is from Montana, and she has a little boy. And I don't know what the latest with you is, KK, but KK does a show on Monday. I don't know if she still does, on the East Coast. A show similar to mine where she talks to people and she tries to help others out there. So I'm back here after several months last show was about the third week in December, and I am back, and I'm on going to be on this show, by the way, 3 times a day. I come on at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. So KK in New York, you figured out the time because you found me. It's 11 o'clock there in New York. They're 3 hours ahead of me. Then I'm on again at 1 p.m. in the afternoon Pacific Standard Time. And my third show will be on at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it's 8 a.m., 1 p.m., and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's 7 days a week. And hopefully that will work out for you all to ask your questions. And KK show is on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be 5 o'clock Pacific Time. So that's when KK is there. And she says hello to parents in the room, and that's so good. That's so good. Well, I'm so glad. And you guys are the first comments I've had. I was on last night for a while, last night at 7, my old time it was. But I have new times, and I've added one extra show, so it's 3 shows a day. Her show, by the way, is called Maniac Mondays. Is what her show is. It's Maniac Mondays with KK Richardson. Oh, they did close your case. Does that mean the next step is to get your boy back? I'm so glad that they dropped those charges. I hope they repaired your front door that they broke down. Bartley's door was demolished, and they did unnecessary force to remove her, and she had a criminal case, and the charges now have been dropped, and now she's in the process of getting her boy back. She does homeschooling with her boy, but they denied her parent rights. Her case has been a hard one. But I'm really glad that y'all called, because I do represent a great law firm and an attorney, Vincent W. Davis, who's been practicing saving children and getting children back to the families for over 30 years. All right. She went ahead and hired a family law attorney, I guess a Montana family law. It's very important to get the right kind of attorneys. There's all kinds of attorneys. You want an attorney that has dealt with you want to have an attorney that deals with child protection service. And so it's very, very important that you find the attorney. And as I say, I have Vincent W. Davis, who will take any on case anywhere in the United States. His fees are adjusted to accommodate his travel, his airfare, his hotel accommodations, and food and transportation. But he's a very fair attorney. But I'm glad you have someone representing you, Bartley, in Montana. Now, the rest of you, I see that we have 3 people in the room. That is great. I have Lisa, Bartley, and I have KK Richardson. And then I have, who else? I might have one other person as a guest in my room, but I'm so glad you do it. Now, a lot of you, as I was giving you historical perspective on how CPS involved, it wasn't until the 60s when the organization got started, and it wasn't until 1974 when they had laws to enforce the protection of our children. And all parents that are trying to raise their children sometimes are not fortunate to have the tools or the needs to take care of their children. Also, they do some mistakes. Now, one of the things I like to share with you is when a knock at the door comes, you don't want to answer the door. You want to be quiet and wait for the knock to desist. Now, that's true about anything. I like to give life skills. And one of the life skills is you have to be careful who knocks at the door. It could be someone trying to sell you something. It could be an armed robber trying to case out your house. It could be the police, and it could be the child protection services. Now, they use the police sometimes, and the police purpose isn't to harass people. They're supposed to protect the child protection social workers. They're supposed to protect them. That's why the police are there. But they sometimes overstep their boundaries and try to enforce CPS's wishes. But you have a constitutional right to have represented anytime you have a legal matter. If you happen to encounter the social service workers outside, or you did answer the door, you need to ask them right off the bat, is this regarding a legal matter? If it is, tell them very nicely that you like to continue it, but you need your lawyer present and you need to call him. Now, in order for them to enter the home or search your home or ask you questions, they have to have a warrant. Now, warrant is a piece of paper that's generated by a social worker or even a policeman saying some allegations and getting a judge to sign a warrant to have you address them. Now, that means they may have gotten permission to enter your home or have things to do. Now, one thing that's important, one thing that is important is that your legal rights. So you want to say very little to any time you encounter a social worker. The best thing is to say nothing at all. You need to get an attorney. Now, Vincent works out of LA County, but he handles other cases. I know one case he just finished in Santa Barbara County. A gentleman named David Halago up in Santa Maria had false allegations. That he was inappropriately doing things to his daughter. Now, they were made by family members, and they convinced the daughter and went back and forth. And so, what Vincent had to do is convince them that he did nothing of the sort. And they had all kinds of stuff done beforehand, but the corruption of the Santa Barbara child protection system up there is really bad. Anyway, after almost a year, he got his daughter back. Now, I just heard little bits and pieces. I haven't talked to David yet. And I heard from my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. But he was successful. And David was one of the people that came into my room. He's one of you guys. And basically, it starts out, he was in Santa Barbara County, which is the next county over. So he paid a retainer. And the retainer, by the way, is based on your location and the complexity of your case and how long it's been going on. Now, for example, if the case is in LA County, it's a $5,000 retainer. His hourly wages are $550 an hour. But that's not the final number. That has to be worked out with you and Mr. Davis. But that gives you an idea. And it is expensive. It was expensive for me. I had to sell my forever dream home to get the money to hire Vincent Davis because he did help me get my children back. You know, I'm a loving father. I have 6 children, and I have one that's in the 40s, 2 that's in the 30s, and 3 in the 20s. My youngest one just moved out recently in October. Actually, my 2 boys. I have a 25-year-old boy and a 20-year-old boy. Last October, they moved out, and they wanted to be on their own because I too, unfortunately, since I had the CPS, financially, it's hit me hard. It's very difficult for me, and I've been working for over 61 years. I have a lot of years of working, a lot of life skills. I've done volunteer work for over 50 years for the Scouts of America, for the American Red Cross, and for the International Surfing and United States Surfing. But there is a different aspect. That's my interest. But I've also had a lot of jobs, from being an animal trainer to a civil engineer, from being an ocean lifeguard to a restaurant manager. And I'm trained and educated with a degree in marine biology. I have worked as a marine biologist, as a lead science on the research vessel Valero. It's a 110-foot purse seiner. But the last 40 some years, I've been working as a civil engineer, building roads and highways, heavy roads and highways. But apparently my involvement with CPS has hindered me getting work in the field or any kind of work, it seems like. I'm very gracious to be able to help out with Mr. Davis and his law firm. It's a great law firm, by the way. Not only do they deal with CPS, they deal with all aspects of the law. So it's a complete package. So you can call in there about problem with your home, problems with work, problems that maybe you had a DUI or something like that. Now, I have found and have run across there's legal insurance. There's different kinds of legal insurance. So you want to find a way, if you can pay a premium on a monthly basis, just like car insurance, like car repair insurance, household insurance, or household maintenance insurance on your things in the home. You know, there's life insurance, there's pet insurance, there is legal insurance that will cover your case, especially a DUI is a very expensive thing. Now, in child protection system, you're dealing with a government entity, from my experience, will blindly lead you down and lead you on. They do lie. They will lie. I've caught my social worker committing perjury under oath by lying in court. My attorney, Vincent Davis, was so good. And how he worked it is that he very carefully asked the right questions when he was in court. Now, what was happening is a social worker was testifying because my wife's sister and husband were trying to adopt our daughter. We have a 12-year-old, and I'll tell you about her in a moment. But they're trying to adopt her. And so he was asking what kind of parents my sister and sister husband were. And she said they're wonderful parents. Then he pulls out a folder, and in the folder was something that she didn't see or didn't know about, was incident reports. Because he asked the next question, have they ever been involved or had any allegations with child endangerment? Well, not child endangerment, but domestic violence is what he was asking. And apparently, my sister and her husband had many cases of domestic violence that they didn't disclose in court. And on top of that, it was physical domestic violence, meaning they were hitting each other. And that's not the right environment. You bring a child in there. So when he brought out the reports, he started reading, he started questioning the social worker and saying, I have a report here that says on such and such a date, so and so, we were called out to investigate a husband and a wife fighting, and it was domestic violence. And that's not a good place to raise a child. That's hard. A lot of us do fight, and it's really, really hard when we do fight. And you have to control your emotions. Now, I know that in the last, I don't know, 30 years, or even longer than that, maybe the last 40 years, they've had something called timeout. Now, when I was growing up as a child, we didn't have timeout. There was corporate punishment, usually a belt on the behind was used, but there's no such thing as a timeout, like sit in a corner. Now, they did do that in school. I remember the dunce caps, but it was chastising the child. When they're put in a corner with a dunce cap on, it made them look really bad. So a timeout is done today where a child or an adult is sent to do a timeout. Now, an adult can do a timeout by going for a walk. If they're arguing with their spouse or losing their temper, they should recognize and say, I got to stop. I need a timeout. We'll come back and we'll talk about it. And so when you do a timeout with a child, you tell them, I want you to take 5 minutes and think about what you did. And then you're going to meet with me and explain what had happened. Now, that's a lot better than corporate punishment. Sometimes it's necessary with children. But a parent has a right to discipline their children, but not over exaggerating. Some parents will get so upset, they'll take a child and shake them like a little infant. You can't do that with the developing brain because it shakes the brain inside the skull and cause damage. Other parents lost their cool, and hit their children, excessively hit their children, or slam them against the wall. You know, those things are wrong. So a timeout is a very good tool to take a timeout. You probably notice is in football games, there are timeouts all the time. So they um, I just noticed a comment here from Lisa Bartley, and I'm glad that she shared it with us. I'll get back to you second, KK. Lisa says they closed her case December 16th. That's good news, and gave the biological father legal and physical custody. I didn't think that's what you wanted, Lisa, because the biological father had harmed the child. So I'm completely confused why they gave your boy away to the biological father who was not good to the child. I don't know what happened with your attorney. I'd like to hear more about that. KK said she recently had court last Tuesday, which was set for trial, and mysteriously it was put on hold due to new discovery being found. KK has been led on and off all the time. Oh, I misread your comment here, Lisa. You said you need to hire a family law attorney. It's going to get harder and harder. Oh, you had surgery on your stomach. I didn't know that. I hope it gets better. I'm glad they closed your criminal case, but that is so sorry to hear that, Lisa Bartley. I know you did not want that. And I don't understand why you lost your case regarding that, because I thought you had evidence that the biological father, who had raped you, by the way, and had done damage to you, was not suited to take care of a child. And I'd like to hear more about that. And yes, you need to hire a family lawyer. If the dad was not considered the offending parent, how did having alcohol in his truck on the floor or doing the things he did to you or your child, how did they prove that he was fit? I know you did everything, completed everything. What what did the courts find with you? You said your criminal cases. What about your CPS case? What did they find with you? Did they convict you of anything? Because you said you completed everything. Now, she mentions completion for all your listeners. Now, there is completion of things like there is a plan that you have to do, like maybe take educational classes, or if you have a drinking issue, you can go, or violent issue, you can domestic violent classes or programs, or the drinking programs. There are two types of things you may have to do that CPS may order you. And so you need to follow through and do those things. And Lisa will call in tonight. Well, hopefully I'll have a phone contact by tonight. Hopefully I will. It's early, so after the show ends, I'll check again on my phone. We're about halfway through the show, and we've been talking about some of the people that are in my room that have been with me for over a year, a long time. KK's been for me from the beginning. Lisa is from Montana, and KK is from New York. And they're two good people that have been a part of my room here for a long time. And they've really have had the questions. So I'm glad you will call me, Lisa. And thank you for the emojis. I can't see them yet because the format is new and I'm trying to learn the new format. I'm trying to learn the new format here. But thank you for the heart, the emojis, the heart. All right, we still have about 3 people in the room, which is great. And I am here to help you get an attorney. And as I say, I work for a great attorney, Vincent W. Davis. And the office again is 888-888-6582. Now, I've come up with 5 rules from all my months of being on this show. And I've talked to over 2,500 people in all 50 states, including approximately 30 countries. One person that called in regularly was from South Africa. I haven't heard her in ages. And she's a loving mother who has lost her son. Her son is abused. And she's trying to work with the corrupt government there in one of the countries in South Africa. It's not a country, I'd say it's a province. I think there is, and I have to look at this, refresh my memory, but I believe there are 9 provinces in the country called South Africa. South Africa is a hard place. I've had several people that have called me from countries in South Africa. And I know it is hard there. But anyway, going back to my 5 rules, the first rule is you need to hire an attorney. That is the most important tool you need to fight CPS. And I have an attorney you can call in and talk to, and you can be hired. Yes, there is a little bit of money there. Now, we have a new person here called Little 619, and you say you're dealing with Department of Children and Family. DCF is the CPS in Massachusetts. Long story short, I have served DCF and the judge with notices to sue, and the court accepted my filing. So you're doing a civil lawsuit. That's something that Vincent W. Davis will do. Sometimes it's so corrupt. Like in my case, we could have sued a social worker. I still want to. But it takes money and time to sue somebody. But apparently, you got a case filed, which is good. You're going to sue them. Now, Mr. Davis has won numerous cases, millions of dollars against CPS. He's not afraid to stand up against them. But I don't know about your case. If you'd like to share it, little 619. I'm only using an abbreviation of your name because it's a long one. And so, little 619, I'm glad to have you from Massachusetts. I've had several people from Massachusetts regarding Department of you call it Department of Children and Family. DCF is what you call it in Massachusetts. It's CPS. Well, anytime I talk about CPS, I mean all the agencies that have different names. Now, again, the 5 rules. Rule 1 is to hire an attorney. And you should get at least 3 quotes from attorneys. You need to check out their background. It's very important you ask 2 important questions. Question 1, have you ever, first of all, you ask them if they're licensed and have experience in areas of family law, juvenile law, and have experience in the child protection services fighting them, CPS. Then you ask them further, have they ever won cases? The next question you should ask them is that, have they ever sued CPS and won cases? That's the kind of attorney you want. Just a family lawyer is not enough. Our criminal attorney will not help you. They're not trained in family matters or juvenile law or family law. Rule 2 is you need to keep records of everything. You need to make yourself a notebook with tabs and organize all the court material. You need to create a log called an incident log. The incident log records every event that has happened. You start with a date and time, the name of the person, and if you contacted them by phone, you put the phone number, and if you contact them by in person, you put the address. And that's the first line. Also, you put the people involved. If it was a social worker or was it a judge, whatever the incident was. The second line is you put what the incident was about. What was the incident about? And then, and it's just a one sentence, it's a summary. The third line is what was the result of the outcome? If you don't know it, leave it blank, but leave it space to fill it in. You do this for every incident, whether it involves a school, whether it involves the police, the social worker, whereas you record each incident separately. The reason being that you will not know everything in 6 months. I made a mistake in not recording things. I should have started the incident log. Another thing you should do is something called a journal. You should write to your children so when they see you, they'll remember what you're doing to fight for them. So you write a journal of what you're doing with the situation, getting your children back, or your feelings. It's something you can share with your child. And if something ever happened to you, God forbid, they have something that shows that the parent really cares. Because I know that all of you that come in this room care about your child. You're just at lost and wit's end because emotionally, and it was very emotional when I got involved. So not only do you hire an attorney, you also make a notebook and put all your classes in there, your programs, your programs you have to go to. Then you have your court papers, you have your social worker papers, things of that nature. So it's all in this notebook, and you carry it with you on that. So that's the third thing. Now, the second thing. The third thing is when they come to your door and knock, don't answer the door. They'll go away in a while, and then you can look at the door and see if they left you anything. You have a phone number, you have an address, they can contact you. But if you don't know who it was, you just got to be patient because they'll be back again. And this is giving you time because you need to get that attorney. You need to get that attorney. Now, another thing is, if you allow them to enter your room, in your home, and they didn't use a warrant, don't tell them anything. Tell them you need to have your attorney present. This is a legal matter. They're going to try to take your child. Do not give your child. Say, do you have a court order to take my child? Do you have a court order to search my home? You have to understand the reason why they want to get in your home, they want to frame you for something. They're evil. They're bad. I have talked to a social worker on this show who's from Maryland, and she insisted that her agency, that she had supposedly 6 months of training and she had a degree. Now, most social workers won't have a college degree. I think it should be a important thing to have, and it should be in the area of social services or social worker. That's the area of expertise it should be. They should also have a second degree in psychiatry, child psychiatry. And with those two things, they should go through a mentor program where they study for a couple years before they take on a case. My social worker only had a high school education, didn't have very much knowledge. She was more interested in her Gucci purse, her clothing, the bonus that they give. They give social workers thousands of dollars for bonuses. The agency gets $20,000 per child per month every time they have a child in custody. It's a money-making thing, and the money disappears. I know in Richmond, Kentucky, there's an investigation on where the $1 million have gone, and they found a gentleman, a social worker, that had embezzled $600,000 of it. They still need to find the other $400,000. Kentucky is a very corrupt state, and I had a girl that came to my show many times to tell her when she grew up how bad it was. Faye is a very sweet person from Richmond. She's doing okay. I think she's gotten over her sickness, and she has a new home, and she's living with her son. She had to choose between two children, her daughter and her son, and she chose her son because of his special needs. CPS was so corrupt in Richmond that they forced her to make a decision like that, which was wrong. There are many, many stories I can share with you in other shows. I just don't want to be emphasizing on that one so much. Okay, your children are still not with you since April 23rd. How can you sue the agency if your case is not over? Did your case get put over? Is your case over? And also, if you call in at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time or 6 o'clock. You filed a writ of mandamus against a judge and you retired during our case. Oh, that's not good. Yes, that is a difficult part of record keeping. And maybe the best social workers would be parents because the ones we have dealt with have no children, are younger than us. That's true. That's true. That's so true. Um, that is so true there. And I hope you continue to be on my show and tell you more. I'm getting close to the end. It's about 15 minutes left of my show time. So I'm going over my rules. And I was mentioned to you that don't let them in your house. And if you do by mistake, don't say anything. Tell them you don't like. It's your constitutional right to have representation of a lawyer at all presence. If I had one, I would never have gone through what I gone through. All I had to do was get an attorney. But most parents don't know that you need a legal person involved in a case. CPS will deceive you and paint such a warm picture that they're the good guys. They're the good guys. They're not the good guys. I know from firsthand experience and from talking to 2,500 people. That's a lot of people I've talking to in here. Anyway, um, I do like what people are saying. I'm sad, Lisa, that you lost your CPS case. What were you convicted of, Lisa? You need to tell me more. And I don't know if an attorney can help you now. You needed an attorney back then, but you couldn't afford an attorney. I know you couldn't. And it's very hard to find a pro bono attorney in this field. And most attorneys don't want to touch CPS because they know how hard of a battle and corruptness. Now, another thing you got to be careful about, it seems the latest, is um, losing your children at hospitals. What I've seen happen is two types of cases. One where parents bring in a child to get help. They misdiagnosed it. They say they need to get a second opinion, and the hospital calls CPS and says the parents refuse to remove appendicitis. What had happened was a misrepresentation, misdiagnostic. And all they did was an MRI. The child was complaining about a pain in her side and on the right side. Well, the appendix is on the left side. And on top of that, it was her gallbladder because she had gallbladder stones. And if they did an x-ray, they would have seen the stones. So they went ahead at the direction of CPS and got the appendix removed unnecessary. The child needs the appendix. So anyway, they have a lawsuit against them. And I helped them. They were in this, and they got an attorney, and they are now suing them for malpractice. They're suing the hospital and they're suing the CPS for ordering them to do something they didn't do. They're not doctors. CPS think they're doctors. So misdiagnostic. So you got to be careful. Heads up. Don't talk to social workers at the hospital or the urgent care. That's where they hang out in. And on step, another one is if you're pregnant, don't let them take your child. If they test positive for a drug, you need to say, I need to have my attorney. This is a legal matter. Don't ever turn your child over. Hang on to your child. They have to have a court order. And they have to be in your delivery room. Tell them to wait outside. Tell the office staff at the hospital they're not on your list. You got to be careful when you go to the hospital to have your child. Usually, most people work out ahead of time and tell a list of who can come in and who can't. And you certainly didn't get permission, but they'll end up trying to take away a child. I've heard of one case where they ripped a child still with umbilical cord attached. They're bad. So you got to watch out that aspect. Now, Rule 5 is you need to do a lot of research. You need to use the internet. Use Google search or GPT, which is the newest AI search engine, and learn all there is about the people involved in the child protection. You need to learn everything you can. Spend, hundreds of hours because it's your child on the line to find out. A lot of things that I've learned is from the internet. I wish I'd done the internet. I kept blowing this off that this was a government agency, that they were nice and they would take care of you. And they'd be fair with you. But they're not. They're not. They always look for something. So we got my two boys back for me, but my daughter still wanted to divorce her parents. At age 12 in California, the social worker told her how to do it. Not only the social worker, but the judge was a cahoots, as well as the CASA, the court appointed service associate that's supposed to be a friend to the child. Even the parents get one, but they're not. They're listening ears for child protection system. They're listening ears. CASA, don't listen to CASA. Bad news. They're not going to help you. So you got to be careful. So you need to spend some time looking on that. Looking on that. Now, it looks like we're about less than 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here. There's some more comments I need to look at. Little 619 says, and maybe the best social workers be parents, because the area that we have in deals with have no children. Yes, I read that. Then Little also says, no, it's not. And because legally in Massachusetts, the mother has full custody unless the father is adjudicated in court, which my understanding means I never had custody, but they can treat me as if. No, you have custody. That's something wrong, misnomer. If you are legally on the birth certificate and the mother's on the birth certificate, you are the parents of that child. Now, I know at age 12, what they did with my daughter is that they changed the birth certificate. They sealed the original birth certificate and had her adopted parents be the birth certificate. That was wrong. She also got a second social security number and was additionally drawing funds. And that's illegal. That's illegal. It was terrible what her daughter did. She was coached by the judge, the social worker, and the CASA. There's videos of them boasting about how they got her away from her parents. It's really sickening to see it. They're using her as a poster child to promote their CASA. It's the most grossest thing I ever see a government agency do. Hello and welcome. He said, Coatman, I have no idea where you're from, but please tell me the city and the state where you're from, or the country. I know that they're dirty, Desiree Coatman. I understand that. And Little 609, wow. Yes, I can tell you horror stories. My time permits. There's one horror story where a mother went on a vacation and left her child alone for a week. The child was barely, I think, 13 months old or 12 months old, a year old, still in diapers, was left in her bouncy chair with activities and I guess a sippy cup. Now, I don't know what the parent was thinking, but the child had no food, no change in diapers. She died from being eaten alive with maggots in her diapers and starving and no food and no liquid. She came back and found her child that way and didn't know what had happened. They accused her of child neglect and she was sentenced. I don't know how long it was. This is in Ohio. You can look up the case, but it's a gross thing. There's so many stories that I will share with you in the shows that come. And I'm really sorry um, that you're hearing some of these stories. They're really terrible. But in closing, I don't want you to forget that number. If you need help, it's 888-888-6582. There's an attorney, Vincent W. Davis, that will help you. He's a good person. He has won cases. I've know firsthand he's a good attorney. And he's somebody you should check into and so forth. Hello, Christina Reynoso. I agree. Thank you, Christina. Christina Reynoso is a loving mother, a very giving person. She's helped so many people in this room with outlines of her case of how they get her children back, And she's from Las Vegas area, Nevada. And she's had a horrible, horrible time. But I know she's helped out Leisha. She's also helped out Felicia in California. Felicia is from Ventura County, lives in Oxnard. And she had a horrible case. She recently talked to me and reached out to me personally. And she had a legal matter, but her home was taken from her. Her mother was taken from her. And her two babies were taken early from her. It's a horrible story, and I'll share it more when I have more time. What is new, Christina Reynosa? I'm glad you will call. Again, you can call me at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on 3 times a day, 7 days a week. I'm here as a resource to help you get an attorney, to help you fight your case. I know a lot of you are at your week's end. I know Lisa was for a long time, and poor Lisa, she's a good person. But unfortunately, she encountered bad men in her life, and she was taken advantage of. And she was taken advantage by a very corrupt system. And it is sad to say that it is very, very, very corrupt. I'm still, the format for the application use is called StreamYard. I'm still trying to get used to it. And I should have my computer back and running in a couple days. So I don't have to do this off my phone. And I need a part that I have ordered on Friday. It should be in next week. It's under warranty, so I'm very happy with it. But anyway, I'm really glad that you've taken the time to be in here. I want to thank Christina Reynosa for being here. Little from 619 from Massachusetts. As it say, Christina Reynosa from Las Vegas. Desert Catman, I don't know where you're from, but it'd be nice if you tell me. There's also Lisa Bartley from Montana. I don't want to forget you. And KK Richardson from Brooklyn, New York. I don't forget you. She has a show on Monday nights, Maniac Mondays. And her time is 5 o'clock on the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time, and 8 o'clock on the East Coast, Eastern Time. So I want to thank you all, and I want to know that you can come back at those 3 times, and I will help you. I'll help you. Please be safe and think about some of the things I shared with you. There are other recordings of shows. You can watch me. They're still around. As I say, I have over 2 years of being on this live stream. That's a long time. And I'm back again. I'm glad to be back. And God bless you all. And thank you for being a part of my show. I will sign off now. This is Bob Pace telling you I'll see you till 1 o'clock today, Pacific Standard Time. Good morning. And I will leave. I go to church because I do believe there is a God. Take care.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last one.